Hello and welcome to another episode of Snapshots. Hope you guys are well. Today I've got with me not only a really good photographer and a really good vlogger, and actually a really good videographer as well, which we'll talk a bit more about, but also I think a reasonably good friend. Shall we say a really good friend? I think we can. It's Simon Byrne. Hello, Simon.
Hello, nice to see you after all this time.
Yeah, it's
It's
been a
been a
while.
while.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think last time we chatted, I think was on the podcast. That must have been, was that 2020? Was that back in
I
2020?
believe it was. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Simon doesn't really need much of an introduction, but for those people who may not have seen your channel, just give us a brief description of you and your channel.
Well, it's funny you should ask that because I'm trying to figure that out myself at the moment. I think I call it photography and filmmaking, and I say landscape, travel, and lifestyle. I think that's what I am. It's really a landscape photography channel, which is sort of my hobby, but it really overlaps into travel because basically one of my other hobbies is walking and taking my camera with me. So to me, travel and landscape photography are actually the same thing. So, but
Uh-huh.
that's a whole can of worms you could open there. So I won't say any more.
I'm looking forward to opening some cans of worms in a bit. Anyway, so when did you start photography and why?
I started photography when I was about 16 because my dad had two Praktica, forget the models now, these old Prakticas. For some reason, he had two, a matching pair. He fancied himself at photography, but he never really pursued it. And we used to go to Spain on holiday, like you do. And he gave me one when I was about 15, 16. And I took a bunch of photos and I really enjoyed it. And at that age, I knew I wanted to go into advertising and marketing and stuff. So I just bought myself a little Nikon, which is actually on the shelf at the back there, a little Nikon with a 50mm prime second hand in the local camera store, and that's what I used at college. I studied photography at college. And I haven't looked back. I just always have to have a camera with me wherever I go.
Cool. All right. And so, what's your excuse for YouTube then? Because how long ago did you start that, and why did you do that?
2000, beginning of 2018, and it was really just a bit of a laugh. I think I happened to come across Chris Sale's channel and James Byrne's, and they were part of a Facebook group which I don't think exists anymore. And then there's a bunch of other guys came on the scene, yourself included, and this very quickly this little community was built. Um, and we were all talking to each other and encouraging each other. And it was I made my first video I made on New Year's Eve. I remember it. It was freezing cold, New Year's Eve in Canada, and Chris Sale was my first subscriber, and he sent me a note of encouragement, and that really kick-started me into thinking, oh, okay, then I'll do a few more of these because there's this community. And that community quickly turned into me getting a lot of mates who a lot of us have met up, and that was it really. It was a way to experiment with video and share my love of walking and photography, and be part of a little tribe, as they say. And yeah, that was how it started.
I know that's only about 4 or 5 years ago, but don't you feel like they were simpler times then?
They
You
were,
know?
yeah, yeah. Well, less people doing it, and
Yeah.
and and I think everybody was more friendly back then, or certainly there was a little tight little group that we were all part of, and everybody was encouraging, and yeah, it was just somehow a little bit different back then. I guess things change, but a lot of those guys, obviously, we all stay in touch, and most of us are still going to one degree or other.
Yeah.
So it's still fun to be a part of. But the other reason I think for my YouTube channel was it was a place to just experiment really and have a bit of fun, because I've over the years I've been getting into video filmmaking more seriously, and I do it for my job now, and it's just a place to play really, and yeah, try stuff, and yeah, just a creative outlet that I don't have to hold. It's up to me what I do. Don't have to worry about clients or pleasing anybody. If I'm pleased, then that's all that matters.
That's such a brilliant idea, really, though, as well, because I know that you're a really excellent filmmaker, and like you say, you do it for a living. It's like I would imagine that you're very constrained by what the client wants, and if you've got your own YouTube channel, you can try loads of things out, and you may learn some new techniques to take over into your professional.
Yeah, well, actually, that's a funny thing. I think we say the term filmmaker. I mean, it's video production. Let's be honest. I'm not making a Hollywood movie yet. I think it can be a bad thing for me because the videos that I make on my YouTube channel are a bit crappy. You know, it's like I've got this 5-year-old GoPro that I go out with, and I never set up my audio properly, even when I'm doing it in my studio, because it's all rushed. I've only have an hour or two, and it's from a production point of view, it's embarrassing. It doesn't do me any favors. Right, but from hopefully from the what I talk about, or at least sometimes anyway, there's a bit of value there, and it's sharing some knowledge and some value, giving some value that I think matters on YouTube. Yeah,
I'm inclined to agree. I think it's important to offer something. I mean, everybody does it for their own reasons. Everybody does YouTube, for their own pleasure, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be doing it unless you're trying to make money out of it. But I think it's important that you give something back. And I always have that sort of mantra. I do it for myself, but equally I'm trying to offer something to the people who are watching as well. So
yeah, and you're very creative too, right? You experiment too. You're sort of like me, and when you do your London things, you did something a couple of years ago with some really cool graphics and colouring and everything. That's exactly what we should be doing. It's just trying stuff and not being afraid of failing or criticism. That's the other important thing.
I'm kind of like you without the talent.
No, you're up there. I mean, yeah, you're up there. Don't worry.
So, if say no one's seen or there's someone out there who hasn't seen your channel, is there a particular video you would say, look, this is me, this is Simon, this is what represents me, this video on my channel?
Oh my goodness. No, don't look at my channel. It's rubbish. No, there's two videos. There's two types of videos I think I've been doing. I did put more in 2018 when I went the first year. I put more effort into them, and I was traveling more because of COVID and everything. I've not really, the whole point of my channel was to travel somewhere and make a little travel vlog, really, and talk about my photography. And I managed to do that a good few times in 2018, but by the time we got to the end of 2019, it pretty much dried up, and I don't think I've really done anything since. So there were some videos when I went to the Lake District in 2018, which is when I first met you and a lot of the guys. Had a few days out there. And I like those videos. I made them for me, and I like them. I go back and I've watched a couple of them because it's a record of a fantastic trip. There's lots of walks in. There was one video I did. I forget what it's called. I was walking in Borrowdale, and that's. I don't know. You're seeing fantastic scenery, and there's a little bit of nice photography in it. I think that's. Those are sort of okay, but ever since then, I mean, some of the videos that I've done recently, I did one where I went to Folkestone Harbour and I did 5 tips, the old 5 tip thing. I like those too. Really, really quick, crappy production, but I think there's value in them. There's more value in that type of video that I've done than anything else, where I have talked about a specific thing. Like how to improve some travel photography or this and some because I'm sharing stuff that I've been doing over 30 years professionally, or trying to, albeit very quick and rushed, and hopefully I'm communicating some value there, some good points that people can maybe think about and try. But no, I can't think of one particular video though. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll tell you one that I enjoyed of yours, which I think sums you up quite well. You were going around Dorset, I think it was, and you were talking about photographing for magazines. And it was a real eye-opener for me, because I think you took a picture of Corfe Castle, and you were talking about leaving a lot of negative space for the type.
Yes.
And that was an eye-opener for me, because as a photographer that doesn't do that sort of thing, it would never have occurred to me that would be an important part of taking a photograph to try and sort of sell it on.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I've done a few videos like that where I've talked about the business side of it, but they don't get very good views. So I don't think people really care about the business side of it. They just want to go out and take nice, landscapes for prints to make prints from, and that's it. So, which isn't really my thing, because I don't do fine art prints. I don't print anything. I don't. I shoot for me, or I shoot for clients for magazines and websites for marketing use. But I don't. The whole print thing is I don't do that.
Well, I found that fascinating. I found that other side fascinating. I was really it just I don't know, just something that, like I said, I'd never considered. So, all right then, let's move on to another question. Now, normally at this point, I would ask somebody to give me one of their favourite photography tips, but seeing as you're a pretty nifty videographer, how about one videography tip that you'd like to pass on?
Videography. Use neutral density filters. Make sure you've got neutral density filters if you're out in bright light, because that's the most essential thing for me. That sometimes I do forget them, and you need them all the time, or at least I do. So. No, forget that. That's a technical thing. Technical things are boring. Okay, here's my tip then. Think about what the story is that you're trying to tell. That's what proper video and films are all about. You've got to tell a story. It's all about storytelling. So just think before you film anything, before you edit anything, what's the story you're trying to tell? Right? That's probably the. I mean, you can go into that really deep, but we don't have time for that. I mean, I could talk about that for 2 hours, but in a nutshell, yeah, like what's the story? Try and tell a story.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think the most compelling videos out there, even very basic YouTube videos, they've got a beginning, a middle, and an end. They've got a bit of conflict in the middle. They go through the process and they tell you the story, and they're the ones that you always remember, I think, rather than just here's my day and I was out.
Yeah.
So. And I find, I don't know about you, but I find that when I'm going out doing something, the story comes afterwards. So I do tend to just have a day out, but then I'll try and have a story. I feel like it develops as the day goes on.
Yeah. I'm the nature of the things. Some of the things that I've done recently, like my last video was, I did a coastal walk from Deal to Dover, and I didn't have any plans other than to try and film it with my little GoPro as I went. So by the very nature that I'm going from A to B, that's the story, right? I didn't have to think about the story or anything. I think, I'm just going to show people, how to get from here to here, what it looks like along the way, and I'll throw in a few thoughts if I remember. But the way I want to move forward with my channel is actually to figure out what the story is before I go out. I want to start doing, and this is where it comes down to, I don't have enough time at the moment, but I need to find time and to figure out what story do I want to tell, how best do I want to tell it, make a shot list, and and really plan it, right? Like a proper movie. Steven Spielberg doesn't go out and film, without, it's all the work is done in the pre-production stage. I'd actually like to do that. I like to do something that's really entertaining, full of value, and is a really tightly told story. It's wrapped around that's what I like to do, but I haven't successfully pulled that off from lack of time. So
yeah, it's difficult. I've thought about doing similar. I keep thinking I want to do a documentary. I really want to do a documentary on YouTube about photography, specifically about smaller photographers and smaller vloggers and why they do it. But the planning is so, you got to get everyone in the same place, or you got to arrange to get to people. You've got to work out what story you're telling, all of the video, all of the B-roll, all of the incidental stuff. But one day, we'll and I'm sure you will as well. So I'm sure you will.
I've got a few that have been sitting on my hard drive for about 3 years that I've already scripted out, or I've got the ideas all ironed out to do 2 or 3 documentaries, because that just comes down to time. I even brought all the gear and cinema lenses and everything for it, and I haven't even used them yet.
Wow.
So,
If you
know,
fancy lending them to me, let me know. We'll sort something out. All right then. So here's a question that I'm really looking forward to asking you. Are you ready for this one? Right. Social media,
Yeah,
blessing or curse, and why?
both. For me, it's a curse because I waste time. God knows why I spend ages on Twitter in my breaks and getting into arguments with people, and just what a waste of time. I think for people that have got something to sell, it's a good thing. If you're building a brand because you're selling workshops or books or courses or whatever it is, I think social media is the place to be. Well, actually, it is, because I work for brands. That's what I do for brands. I create content, horrible word, photos and videos for to sell stuff, and social media is where we put it. But personally, social media isn't a particularly good thing because I've got nothing to sell anybody. I don't do workshops or anything like that. Maybe the reason why I even bother to post anything on social media is because maybe in 10 years time or something, when I wind things down a little bit, maybe I will, and I want to build a bit of a following. I haven't decided that yet, but no, I know a lot of people are hating on Instagram right now. Instagram is my favorite platform. Because I don't waste any time on it. I don't have to interact and get into arguments with people. I just post some images, and I've got some good. I've only got like 1,500 followers on Instagram, but a lot of them are loyal followers, and they seem to like what I do there. But other than that, I'm on Twitter, and I don't know why. That really is just a complete waste of time.
You don't leave Twitter though. Please don't leave Twitter, because you're brilliant on Twitter. Every time I think, oh, Simon's posted something. Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah. Well, the thing that people need to know about me is I don't take anything seriously. The only thing in life I take seriously is the health of myself and my family. That's it. Everything is up for a laugh. And when I'm on Twitter, if I'm taking a break, or especially in the evenings after I have a few beers, I just go on and poke people just for the pure entertainment. And I get myself into trouble for it. I know I get myself into trouble. Oh, the other day I got into big trouble.
I know.
Big hate.
Yeah.
Called a racist and a misogynist and God knows what, just because which has nothing to do with what I was talking about.
I think you got accused of mansplaining.
Something. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's. Yeah. And it's like, it's fun to argue with these idiots just to wind them up even more, but it doesn't do me any favors. Got to get more positive and productive. So that's I mean, really, that's it. Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. That's
Well, please don't leave Twitter, because I always enjoy your tweets, and I can see you're quite similar to James Burns. He's quite similar. You can see. I think, because a lot of people can't see. I can see that little wry smile you're having when you're typing it. When you're just putting that out, and I think people can't see that.
Yeah, James is better at doing that with me than I am. He's very subtle. I know James, and I've spent time with him, and I know his sense of humour. It's so subtle, so dry. It goes over a lot of people's heads. I know it does. But I get him every time. He's great.
He's very funny. All right, okay. So moving back to photography for a minute. What's your best experience behind a camera, and what's your worst experience behind a camera?
Oh my goodness! All my experiences have been great. I mean, I love the fact that I'm just so blessed to go out anywhere with a camera, with that freedom to be creative and to explore. And I recently, I guess my most recent good experience was I took 2 months off to backpack across Spain on the Camino, which I talk about a lot on Instagram. And we took a rest day in Leon, a city in northern Spain, and just to be in an amazing location, to wander around. I left my wife; she didn't want to come out with me on our day off. She let me loose, and I had my camera just wandering around this amazing ancient city. doing, street and architecture and food and lifestyle. It was just magic. That's what I live for. That was what makes life worth living, is to be in situations where, in new places, and explore and capture what I see. And that's the most recent one. Yeah. Do you say worse as well?
I said, yeah, worst. Yeah.
I can't think of any personal outing I do with my camera. They're all good. Even if I don't come back with any images, it's just the being out there. I get in torrential rainstorms and blizzards and get frozen and virtual frostbite. Certainly where I am at the moment in the winters. It's all good. I love it all. The only really bad experience that I can think of was about 15 years ago. I was on I was taken on a shoot for a couple of days with a film crew with a celebrity interior designer. I was filming a TV show, and I was doing all the behind the scenes stuff for the blog and a magazine article. And I just bought this brand new. This was when I had my D700, Nikon D700. So I just bought a brand new. 16 to 35 2.8, which is like a $3,000 lens or something ridiculous, very expensive. And for the longest time, I've just used 24 prime, a 35mm prime or whatever. No, I'm going to treat myself. I didn't really need it, but I thought things are going good, and I took it out there. And the second day, we're in a winery filming, and I put it on top of a barrel, and it rolled off onto the concrete floor and totally smashed, gone. And that was the worst, because that was like literally, I only had it a few days and it was destroyed. And I don't insure my gear. It's not. I find it's cheaper not to insure it, believe it or not. That's another story. So that was just money down the drain. But
gutted.
that was
That's life, though, I guess, isn't it? I think you have to kind of accept that you're going to have an accident every now and again with your gear.
You are.
And it's just unavoidable. It's it's a tool at the end of the day. Your camera, your lenses, anything you use for your videography is a tool. And like all tools, sometimes you have mishaps with them and they wear out or they disappear down the side of a gorge or something like that. These things they just happen.
Yeah, we've all done it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I bet that was gutting though, especially as you hadn't had any real full use out of it.
No, but I mean, I had my primes to cover those focal lengths. So it wasn't like it was a problem with the shoot. It was just,
Yeah, just a bit gutting.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah. All right. Okay, so what about your favourite YouTube channel? And we'll go photography. And do you have any a non-photography?
I don't actually watch any photography YouTube channels other than you and all my mates. So I watch you, Darren Spoonley, Dave Griff, James Burns, Gary when he's Gary Knight when he's actually doing anything. Is it Gary?
Darren.
Haven't had lunch yet. And I've missed out a whole bunch, but Chris Sale, I like to check in every now and then and see what basically all my mates from when I started, I like to keep up and see what everybody's doing. Every now and then I might go in and watch one of these Toronto dopey squad guys, and just for entertainment value, and then usually end up turning them off after about 30 seconds because they're trying to sell something. Excuse me. No, really, these days, most of the time I spend on YouTube is watching actual real filmmaker interviews, with people like Roger Deakins and Christopher Nolan and Quentin Tarantino and all of these guys. I'm just soaking up as much. Ridley Scott, who's my hero, like just fantastic. I'm just soaking up as much information as I can on storytelling. From those guys. I think that's my focus on YouTube now, is anything to do with storytelling. Try
and get inside their heads to how they do things.
Really understanding the whole story thing. I don't care about cinematic moves with cameras on gimbals or fancy editing techniques and transitions. It's all bollocks, really. Just figure out how to tell a good story. That's where I'm at. I've done all the messing about with the gimbals and the slow-mo and the and all this stuff going.
Don't you start on slow-mo?
Well, I actually like slow-mo. I don't get tired of slow-mo. I use it a lot, but not overdone that it's all about the slow-mo just for the sake of it, because and don't get me wrong, I love messing around with those techniques and stuff and throwing them in just for fun. Certainly on my YouTube channel, I wouldn't necessarily use them on a client project, but it's more than that. It seems that everybody's focused on gear and technique. And gear and technique are the least important thing if you want to get on, and whether you're a photographer or a filmmaker, it's got to be about story. Story is everything.
Totally with you on that. Totally with you. So you're in Canada at the moment, right?
I'm in Canada at the moment. Yeah. I was in England for a few weeks. Spain before that.
Why is it that there's so many, like, there seems to be an awful lot of photography channels based in Canada, compared to, say, the US, which, has it's only just south of the border. Why is it there's so many in Canada and so few in comparison in the US?
Toronto is known as Hollywood North. Like most Hollywood movies that you watch, some part of them, if not all of them, are filmed or made in Toronto.
Okay.
Big creative, and there's a lot of ad agencies and a lot of I used to have an agency in Toronto, and that's the reason why I came to Toronto in the first place, because it's a very creative city. So I think it's just if you're born and raised around Toronto, you just I don't know, it's part of your DNA, and a lot of people go into filmmaking and photography, and there's tons of YouTube channels around, big ones that are all from here. It's sort of interesting. But I don't know, I guess that's the reason. It's just a very creative city. It's also very diverse as well. It's like, you've got all these little neighborhoods. You've got sort of little Italy and India, and every country in the world has got a neighborhood in Toronto. So it's a very vibrant, creative, inspiring place to be.
Sounds really cool, I've got to say. It sounds really cool. All right, so try this one out then, see how you feel about this question. You've been arrested. Okay, right? You've been arrested. You're in the cell. You're in the police station, right? You've got one phone call, and you can only phone a fellow photography vlogger. Who are you going to call, and how they're going to help you?
Wow. I have no idea. What would I be arrested for? Drunken disorderly, probably.
Yeah, let's go with that. Hate speech.
I kind of I'd like the rest overnight, and I'll just be out in the morning, I guess. So I just wouldn't call anybody. I don't know. I might need the break. What kind of question is that? I don't know.
That's why I was hoping you hadn't watched the one I just released today, because it's the first one, and I'd asked that question on it. I thought he's going to be practicing on this, but I'm glad you haven't watched it.
No. I don't watch any lawyer channels or anything like that. So.
So you just take your punishment then and just get let out the next day.
I guess so, yeah. I don't know I don't know anybody well enough, unless I call you, of course.
I'll be no good, mate. I tell you, I'll be absolutely useless. I'll probably end up in there with you.
Give him some Norman's wisdom, couldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I'd probably end up there with you.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What about this one then? We'll go back to photography.
Yep.
Okay. If you could only ever go back to one place, one location to take photos, what would it be? And also, if you could only go to one new place to take photos, what would that be?
Oh my goodness, I've been to so many good places I want to go back to. Can I give you two answers? Can I give you a city and a landscape? Can I do that?
Yeah, of course you can.
I think Prague. That was an amazing. I spent there. I was there for a week, but I was on a shoot for a client, so I didn't get time to play as much for myself as I'd like to. So I'd like to go back there. Amazing for any kind of photography. Just incredible. But from a landscape point of view, oh my goodness, it's got to be out of the Canadian Rockies or Lake District. I'm going to say Lake District.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say Lake District. I know a lot of people for some
Over
reason,
the Canadian Rockies.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Because you don't get eaten by bears in the Lake District. It's safer.
Just midgies.
I don't mind midges.
Yeah, I'd rather have a midgie coming at me than a bear.
Yeah, no, honestly, Canadian Rockies, I just want to say, is the most stunning place to do mountain and nature photography. But I'm always scared to death because there are bloody great big grizzlies there, and people do get attacked. And I was there once. The first time I went there, I was staying in a little town, Lake Louise, and a bear came out of the woods and mauled 6 people the night I was there. I wasn't in the campground. I was actually in the hotel next to the campground. Right. That just put me right off. I can never feel comfortable walking in the Rockies, because you need to. A lot of those really great scenes, like the lakes with the mountains and everything behind, you need to walk a little bit or a lot, right? And it's just this. Never been comfortable. But in the Lake District, it's fine. It's fine.
There's the odd cow in the Lake District, but
yeah, well, yeah.
Talking of Prague.
I was going to say something about Darren there. I won't. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Prague.
That's why I brought it up. Talking of Prague, I went to Prague. Oh, must have been 10, 15 years ago, and it was really before I didn't have any camera gear, and I just had a little compact, and I loved the place. I really loved it, and I wish I'd love to go back there now. Like you say, it's fantastic for a bit of street photography, and the architecture is beautiful there, and the bridges, and it's just amazing.
It is. Yeah. No, I can't think of a better thing right now than standing on Charles Bridge before sunrise in the dark on your own, just waiting for that first light to come up with all the amazing buildings in the background and the river and all the statues along the bridge, and the lights are on, and it's all misty very often, and it's just magical. It's totally magical. Yeah. Recommend place. Prague to anybody as a city destination for street and culture and architectural photography. Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree. It's a beautiful place. It really is. Is there a piece of equipment, photographic equipment, that you still own or used to own, that's kind of your favourite piece? So, like, for nostalgia, or for the memories it brings back, or just for the usability of it. Have you got one particular piece of equipment?
Ooh, I tend to keep my equipment. I mean, a lot of lenses I bought 25 years ago I've still got. Even though I'm using a Z system now, I use them less, but I still stick them on a converter from time to time. The one piece of gear that I'm using a lot at the moment, again, is I bought a tripod about 27 years ago, a Manfrotto. It's an aluminium one. It's a big, heavy one, but that thing is just bulletproof. All the tripods now that you buy are all crap. I have not found a decent tripod that doesn't fall apart. Even Gitzo, I bought a Gitzo one. Garbage, just falling apart. I mean, so I'm using old, heavy crap just because it lasts. So I would say, a 27-year-old tripod is my go-to, and I am literally I use it on client stuff and in the studio here, but I will literally go on a 3 or 4 mile walk with it now as well. It's nuts, but I will.
You'll be dead afterwards because it's so heavy, but
no, you get used to the weight,
I know. Oh no, wait, sorry, you're still talking about the tripod. Sorry, my mistake. So, all right, what's the favourite photo you've ever taken? And I know it's a difficult question, but if you had one.
When I was in the Vatican City many years ago, and I made a video about this, and nobody liked it, as usual. But it was a shot of St. Peter's? Never remember the building where the Pope lives. Is it St. Peter's? St. Peter's Square? Anyway, so I wanted to find an interesting angle to shoot that classic spot. And I got down on the ground and shot between some horses and carriages. And that's probably my favourite all-time photo. It's a travel photo. It's not a landscape. I don't have any landscape photos that I particularly like because I don't spend enough time doing it to be lucky enough to get the amazing light. I'm luckier with travel stuff because I do it more often. So yeah, that shot.
I watched that video. I was one of the few. I remember that. As soon as you said about the taking the Vatican, I thought, I bet it was the one between the horses. It's with a horse and cart, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 horses and carts and shot between them with
right.
the building in the background, and it was that's the type of image that I like to try and shoot. And that one just that was back in the film. Actually, I took that on my F5. That would have been late 90s. I took that.
Crikey.
Film that was on the old Velvia, film, and so the picture that I've got online is a crappy scan done on one of those cool scan things. Should probably get that drum scan one day and do it properly. That's probably the last really good photo that I've taken. That's 20 odd years ago. Jesus, what am I doing?
Well, it's been lovely talking to you, and I'm off to find a proper photographer. So outside of photography, do you have any other hobbies? Is there anything else you do?
Eat and drink.
Oh, that's a good hobby. I like that.
No, I live, eat, breathe, sleep photography and video. But incorporated into that is walking and food.
Okay.
If I'm traveling somewhere and there's a great walk to do some great landscape photos, and there's a really nice pub or something at the end of it where I can enjoy some great food. So I've got some images, I've had a great walk, nice drink, local ale, nice local food. That's perfect. That's why I'm alive, to do that. So yeah.
Good answer. That is a good answer. I know you're going to hate this question. Every single person I've asked has hated this question because they say, well, how can I? What are your favourite 3 songs right now? Not current songs. Your favourite 3 songs of all time, but at the moment, because they always change, don't they?
Oh, that's easy. I've been doing a lot of studio work this last few weeks, and I've got my playlist pretty much on repeat. It's Stranglers, Strange Little Girl, Golden Brown. I've been listening to over and over Sex Pistols, Holiday in the Sun, and some Johnny Cash to throw for a good measure.
Yeah, because that's very similar.
It is. No, that's it. Those are those. Yeah, Strange Little Girl, Golden Brown, Holiday in the Sun. They're my 3, and they are all time. They are up on my all-time list, I think.
Wow, you're the first person I've asked who's gone, oh yeah, that's easy. Everyone else, really? You asking me that question? All right, is there any music or particular groups that you absolutely despise? When they come on the radio, I've got to switch them off.
Oh yeah, no. There's a sort of like I wouldn't say the heavy rock, a sort of a rock group that was popular a few years ago, and I cannot think of their name right now.
They're not Canadian, are they?
They might be, but the guy sounds the same in every song, and it sounds like he's trying too hard. Terrible singer. Canadians love him.
Is it Nickelback?
That's it.
I knew you were going to say
absolute shite.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
God,
yeah.
No! I when I'm listening to the radio, the times I'm listening to the radio, that goes off immediately.
Yeah, I agree. I can't stand Nickelback. So formulaic as well.
Yeah. Oh, just. Yeah. I'm pretty open though, really, in general to music.
Yeah.
Rap. I don't do rap. That gets switched off.
Yeah.
And a lot of country music does.
I'm not a country music fan. Don't mind a bit of rap. Don't mind a bit of old school rap. I'm not so keen on the new stuff, but I don't mind a bit of old school rap. But yeah, country music, not for me. Thank you very much. No.
Yeah.
Nor Nickelback, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think on Nickelback, I think we'll end it. I think we'll call it a day.
Oh, it's a horrible place to end it. I'm gonna have nightmares.
Listen, thanks so much, mate. It's been really interesting talking to you. We'll end on Nickelback because I know how much you love Nickelback. What we'll do is I'll stick a link to your channel in the description, and if anyone hasn't watched Simon, then please go along and watch Simon. And for God's sake, follow him on Twitter, because that's just it's an evening's entertainment. Anytime Simon puts some, it's great, it's fantastic. So definitely follow him on Twitter. So Simon, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate that. It's been a really good talk, and like I say, Simon's link will be in the description, and hope you've enjoyed this week. I've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.